Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today is March 11th, 2024. That is just about 4 years of Torah every single day. It is broadcast 1010, if you can believe it. It is Rosh Chodesh Adar. It is a time for coming together. It is also day 157 since Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7th. That is 157 days that have increased the intensity of what we do as a community, but the constancy of Torah being an anchor has not changed. I'm so grateful for that. And I hope that you and yours are safe and well. Penny, it's good to see you. Edith, my friend, welcome. It's really nice to see your face. Michelle, Deborah, good morning. Rosa and Carl, Barbara and Dale, Lisa, Fabrice and Arlene, Boker Tov friends, Jonathan and Lydia, Natalie and Ron, Catherine and Arlene, Anna and Helen, good morning. Helen, you're going to Israel in 3 weeks. Carry us with you. Barry and Judy, good morning. Hi, Jerry. Debbie, sending love to Colorado. Stacy and Barbara, Jerry and Sharon, Maheen and Robin, good morning, everyone. Let's take a second, take a breath. I recently moved back into my son's room for my office, but forgot to bring the guitar. So let's sing a bracha for learning San's guitar. David, my colleague, my friend, good to see you. Hope that you're well. Ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ay ay la la la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah la'asok b'divrei Torah, hafoch ba, v'hafoch ba, la'asok b'divrei Torah. Diddy-I, li, 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 diddy-I, li, 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 diddy-I, li, 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 I, li, li, li. So good morning, friends. Hope you and yours are doing well. Natalia, sending love to Colombia. Really proud that you are celebrating your mother's 70th birthday with her in Colombia and also here with us. What a gift it is to have you present. Hope that everyone is doing well. Again, it is broadcast 1010. It is day 157. There's a lot going on in the world. And what I want to make sure we do is we anchor ourselves also in the day of the calendar that we're in. It is Rosh Chodesh Adar 2. So it's a leap year, which means on the Jewish calendar there are 2 months called Adar. This is the second one, but this, according to tradition, is the real one because it is one month that includes the holiday of Purim. The first month of Adar does not. And so the tradition of Misha Nichnas Adar Marbim Basimcha, 2,000 years ago, the Mishnah says, one who enters Adar should have an increase in joy. That's a tall order right now. It's a tall order. How can we feel an increase in joy? We can prepare for Purim. We can do the mitzvot of Purim, which include hearing the Megillah, having a Suda, a meal, sending matanot lavyonim and delivering them, meaning gifts for the poor, on Purim are meant to be given directly, face to face, and mishloach manot, sending yummy things of two kinds to friends. So I encourage you not to miss the sweetness and the intensity and the mitzvah of Purim, but the idea of feeling more joy, that's a tall order. It's always strange when tradition encourages us, even commands us to feel something. So I'm not sure what to do with that. I wanted to name the tradition on the day that begins the month of Adar, but I'm not quite sure what to do. I want to quote my teacher, a very beloved friend, Shalom Orzach. I teach with him as part of the I Center's great work to create Israel education cohorts all around the world, but certainly in Israel and the United States. He says in a beautiful new piece called Dress Rehearsal, which you can find on the Times of Israel today, he says, Chodesh Tov, a good month. And despite the directive increasing in joy, Marbim B'Simcha, the one that we just shared, it is actually the apprehension that is increasing. That's where we are. The prospect of unrivaled elation in these dark and agonizing days seems incongruous. And that is a really, really honest way of describing this moment. So I give Shalom a lot of credit. But more than that, even more than that, he points to one specific verse in Megillat Esther, the scroll of Esther, that I think could serve us very well right now. Let me pause just to say, Judy, it's so good to welcome you back, and thank you for carrying us home when you went to Israel. Excuse me, late night. Thank you for carrying us with you on your way to Israel just now. Come back and tell us everything that you learned, that you saw, and perhaps we'll go together again very soon. The verse that Shalom Orzach quotes in this beautiful, beautiful article on Times of Israel is from chapter 4, verse 14 of the scroll of Esther. Listen to the Hebrew. Ki'im hacharesh tacharishi ba'et hazot revach v'hatzala yamod layudim mimakom acher v'at uvet avich tovedu umi yodea im la'et kazot higat lemalchut. Listen to this verse. On the contrary, if you keep silent in this crisis, relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from another quarter, while you and your father's house will perish. And this is my favorite verse in the entire Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible. And who knows, mi yodea im la'et kazot higat. And who knows, perhaps you have attained royal position for just such a crisis. It is such an important verse. Shalom points it out in this piece on Times of Israel. Let me pause also to say hi to my wife, Neshama. Hi, love. Thanks for joining the broadcast. If you remain blind, if you remain deaf to this crisis, and I'll riff on what Shalom points out in his article, but I cannot recommend the Times of Israel in general enough, and I cannot recommend Shalom Orzach's piece on Times of Israel today highly enough. There are those, including some at the Oscars yesterday, which I don't want to elevate or amplify. There are those who would hear some of the suffering happening in the world, and we, in a values-based way, in a very human way, of course, feel the incredible pain happening in Gaza to civilians. And though we know that the moral responsibility for what's happening in Gaza falls squarely on the shoulders of Hamas, who are both the elected leaders of the Palestinian people in Gaza and also avowed terrorists bent on the destruction of our people. They are the modern day Haman. For all of our moral clarity on that, which we will not waver from, the pain in Gaza is real. And so there are those today who are only pointing to the pain of Gazans, which of course should be pointed to, without immediately saying, and all of this is because they stole our grandparents and babies. They massacred and raped us. The moral responsibility should make everyone hear and see. And the verse from Megillat Esther makes very clear what must happen. Ki'im hacharesh tacharishi, if you remain blind and deaf to what is happening, by which we mean 134 human beings were stolen from their homes, massacred in psychic ways, and are likely continuing to be assaulted. Yesterday I don't know what the right word is. I stood with, is the right way to say it. I stood with the community here in New York, in Central Park, thousands of us, organized by countless organizations, the top of which was UJA, thank God, to stand waving Israeli flags, handing out pins with faces of our sisters and brothers and grandparents and babies, calling out, bring them home now. Of course. And we said explicitly from the microphone, and we say explicitly from our hearts, not only because it is the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, but also because we are human beings. Judaism calls us to be human. And so, of course, we feel the pain of the suffering of civilians in Gaza, and we will continue to say so and feel it and wish that it were otherwise. And we will continue to hold Hamas accountable for the destruction of their own people, let alone their assault on ours. You cannot call for a ceasefire and not say immediately, and free the hostages. Yes, you can wear a red ribbon, but are you wearing a yellow ribbon at the exact same time, or do you only think that Gazans are human? Do you not think that we are human? And if you do not wear both on your heart, on your clothing, in your speech, and in your deeds, how dare you call yourself someone who champions human rights? You're only championing some humans' rights. And so we have to be present and we have to be loud, because if we remain silent, who's to say what our fate and what the fate of our people looks like? Mi yodea, friends, im la'et kazot higanu lemalchut. Who knows if it is precisely for this reason, and in fact, historically we know, that we have fought for this power that we must use ethically, because we have learned enough of our history that we cannot depend upon the goodwill of others. Susan, you say I needed to hear this again. I needed to hear that again yesterday, standing with two of my children, one of whom was holding a sign with an Israeli man who's being held hostage right now, who's my age. And we heard the speech of a freed hostage who's a young woman whose father is still being held hostage. And I saw my daughter, and I saw this young woman, and it could be me. And if it were up to Hamas, it would be me too. We dare not remain silent. We are not blind to what's going on. No facet of it, but we will not give moral equivalence to the massacre of 1,200 Israelis perpetrated on October 7th. Mass rape committed against Israeli women on October 7th and since. We will not make moral equivalence between that and the counter invasion to free our people. And anyone who makes a moral equivalence between the two is blind to what's happening, has been intentionally deaf to reality. You and I, friends, you and I know that if it were up to Hamas, it would be us too. It is a modern day Haman that we face. So marbim b'simcha, increasing our joy? Not yet. No. I will do mishloach manot. I will send yummy things to my neighbors and friends. I will do matanot levyonim. UJA will continue to give direct assistance to the vulnerable populations here in New York, certainly in Israel, and everywhere around the world. We will hear Megillah, but when I hear Megillah, friends, and when you hear Megillah, when I drown out Haman, you know whose name we should be drowning out to? The modern day Haman of Hamas. We dare not forget. And the rabbis connect Haman to the even more ancient enemy of Amalek. We believe, by tradition at least, that Haman is a descendant of Amalek. And what was Amalek defined by in the book of Shemot, the book of the Torah that we're reading in this cycle? Amalek hit us where we were most vulnerable, our children and those who were in the back, who walked slower. I don't think I would have said such a thing. Maybe I've forgotten. Maybe this part of my Jewish identity was dormant, or maybe I was trying to just cultivate the best of who we are, believing perhaps the best of others. But the lesson of Purim is important too. Mi yodea im la'et kazot higanu lemalchut. Who knows if it is perhaps specifically for this moment that you and I have achieved what we have achieved. You and I have work to do. Every Sunday, there's a gathering in Central Park. Every Sunday around the world, there are gatherings of people standing in solidarity with our missing family members. It is so essential that you and I pay attention to the language of Purim. And let me end with the words that Shalom Orzach wrote in the Times of Israel today. The potency of this phrase, this verse, calls out for generations. Mordechai prophetically not only addresses Esther, but all of us. Who knows if for this moment you've achieved this station? He addresses us with a moral code that must be upheld. It took the UN almost 5 months to confirm that Hamas raped victims during the October 7th massacre and acknowledge that they have clear and convincing information that hostages held in Gaza are subjected to sexual violence. How were you deaf to these cries for so long? How is it conceivable that the same people calling for an immediate ceasefire offer no objection to the fact that for a staggering 157 days, women, children, elderly, and innocent people are still being illegally held hostage in Gaza? Too many feign deafness. Not only these crucial issues, but these people too must be called out. #now. Be that voice. Act on these injustices. Bring them home now. So I'm going to ask you to begin by praying with me, and then singing Hatikva, and then posting. And calling your elected officials. The Israeli delegation, Adrian is sharing, is right now, today at the UN. We will not be silent. We dare not remain silent. Mordechai said, I'll just say it one more time. If you keep silent in this crisis, perhaps relief and deliverance will come to the Jews from another quarter, while you and your father's house will perish. And who knows? Who knows, friends? Perhaps you have attained to royal position for just such a crisis. Perhaps we created this community just so we could amplify our people's hearts right now. If you haven't been active, friends, get active. And if you have, get more active. And if you can't, get on a plane. Go stand with our people. Yes, cry with our people too. We have work to do. And we are not tired. We will not slow down. Our people is hurting. It's a new month. When we bless the new month, we bless that it should be one of safety and health. May it be. Bring them home now. Bring them home now. Bring them home now. Send your heart to the east, friends. Kol hon baleva pnima nefesh Yehudi homia ulfatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion tzofia. עוד לא עמדה תקוותנו, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. להיות עם חופשי Be'artzeinu Eretz Zion V'Yerushalayim. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow, friends. Take care.